Welcome folks. Today's episode, or lesson for that matter, is going to be about your regular everyday batteries, dry cells. Meaning no acid, battery acid in there. They're all either carbon or some kind of alkaline stuff in there. You can see there it says alkaline on it. It's a better battery. What I'm going to do today is explain the different sizes, just the domestic ones you see around your house, mostly in North America for that matter. In other places in the world you might have something different, I really don't know. But anyways, what I've got here is the featured little gadget for today is a little meter I picked up a number of years ago. And I just realized today just how much more there is to it than you first meets the eye kind of thing, you know. In this portion here, you'll be putting different size batteries that are round, right? They'll be round in shape. And on the end here, there's two terminals on the end, and I'll be going through that in this video to show you how to connect it and get the reading on the little meter there. And then to back that up, I'll bring in my automotive multimeter here, and it'll actually show you the accurate voltage rather than just like a high or low reading that shows on this analog readout here on this gauge here. So this one here is digital. It'll give us digital numbers and a more accurate representation of the actual battery voltage and the strength that's remaining, if it's used, that is. Okay, and then also there's, I was mentioning on the end, there's two more terminals. That's for your typical 9-volt battery. Okay, there's kind of a rectangular shaped deal. They put out 9 volts when they're new, or a little bit more than that, and as they get used up the voltage drops. And it drops down to a certain amount, then it doesn't really operate whatever you've got it in, whether it's for a radio controlled car, transmitter, or receiver for that matter, or just about anything that requires those, like baby monitors for instance. They have them in there a lot of times too. Okay, and on the back of the same gadget here, it's a battery tester. Okay, hopefully I can hold it still enough and keep it in focus here. But you'll see on the, I'll explain the gauge here before we start putting batteries in, making connection. If it's in the red, it says replace. That basically means the voltage has dropped a sufficient amount that it probably won't make whatever you've got it in, whether it's a toy or whatever, function very well. It'll be low on voltage, low power in other words. If it's in the yellow area, you could still use it, but if it's something important that you're using it on, don't let it go into the yellow. If it's an important thing, like you don't want to lose your remote controlled boat in the middle of a lake per se. Okay, there's an actual example for you. And if it's anywhere in the green, hopefully I can get the lighting on that right, if you can see that on your screen or monitor, your tablet, your smartphone, whatever your display is that you've got in front of you. And the green, if it's in the green, you're good. It says good. That means the voltage is right up there, right where a new battery would normally be. A new battery will almost take this little needle indicator almost to the end of the green, or towards it, to the right of it anyways. Likewise, I'll get back to this part here, these two terminals here to measure the voltage. Well, maybe not the voltage in this case of this particular little handy little battery tester, but you just basically connect the two terminals on this battery. I've got to get it focused up here and it's centered. I've got to remember I'm zoomed in here. I'm halfway across the workbench so you can't see. It's out of frame. So I'll try to remember to keep it in frame for you. But you see there's two terminals on top there. Okay, I'll orient it this way then. On this side here where there's a bigger fitting, on the end of that, that's your negative side. That's your positive side, or plus. This will be a minus sign if you use mathematics to use the signs, right? Most of the batteries will have a marking on them to indicate what it is. This particular one looks like it just has a plus on one side, but on the other side it doesn't show. If you can see that with all that glare in there, it'll be a plus sign. So on these particular ones, they're usually on the positive or plus side is usually the smaller terminal. Okay, but we'll get back to that in a minute. Let's just start testing some batteries here. Okay, I gotta get a couple of helpers for the small ones, and maybe I'll explain the sizes before we move along here. Like I was saying, there's the rectangular one, that's 9 volts. Basically called it, in the old days, called it a transistor radio battery, probably because that's where they were initially used in the early days. But they've moved on to all different kinds of electronic gadgets as of today. These ones are rated in, not rated, but their designation is in letters. Okay, this one is a AAA. It's very small. Okay, and I'll try to hold it still and hold it. Also, I'll mention with these ones before I forget is there's a plus and minus marked on here. There's a little bump on one end. That's usually for these round type of batteries. That's the plus or the positive terminal. And the flat side is usually the negative or the minus terminal. Okay, so you've got to orient these right. Say if you've got a remote control for your TV or any of your devices, then sometimes when you take the battery hatch off, there will be a spring. For the most part, the spring usually goes on the flat side of the battery, but check, usually there's a molded in indication inside the battery well when you take that hatch off to show you which way to orient these batteries. Never put the batteries in backwards. You could mess things up. Okay, so always pay attention to what they call polarity. The plus goes with the pluses and the minuses go with the minuses. Okay, moving on, that's a AAA or AAA. And then we move into the next larger one, and that's a AA or AA. And then we get into a different letter altogether. This will be your C. You can see the letter C on there, right? And I'll try to hold these all in the frame there in my hand. It's jiggly wiggly, I know. I do the best I can here anyway. Then you get into D, or generally called a flashlight battery. If you got the bigger handheld flashlights, these will usually go in there. Or you can have the C if you have a smaller flashlight. And if you have the real tiny flashlight, sometimes you use multiple ones of either of the smaller ones. So there's the, as far as the round ones are concerned, you got the AAA, 3 A's. You got the AA, which is 2 A's. Then you've got the C size battery, and you got the D or D cell, it's commonly referred to. Okay, so you can move along here, and we'll start out with the smallest round one, the AAA or AAA, 3 A's. Just got to make sure these don't roll away on me here. Okay, what I'm going to have to do in order to orient this for the video here is I'm going to have to raise this little guy up, because the contact terminals here, they're halfway up here, and in order to hold it still enough and make it good enough for this video so you can see it without it being all moving around on you, I'll try to hold it still there. Okay, so we got the bumpy end or the plus side. It always goes, another reason they color code these, red is usually positive, and you can see, right here there's a plus sign. There's a plus sign there, meaning this thing slides according to the length of the battery. Those are the round ones. Like I was mentioning, the rectangular one goes on the end, it doesn't go in here. Okay, so we'll just put this down and orient the polarity right. I've got a couple of carpenter's pencils here. I'm just going to move them in here to raise these smaller batteries up, because they won't make with the contacts in this little gadget to measure it with. So you just basically open this thing up, put your battery in the right polarity, hopefully you can pick that up, but just put in like so and slide this in until it makes a connection. Hopefully it will make a connection. I have to roll it out. There's a little bit of a bump on this side, and I have to kind of work with it to hold it still enough for the video, that is. Well, you can see there on the needle there, it's right in the green, okay? That's telling me that's still okay to use. Another thing I'll point out now too is if say you have a remote control and it stops working on you for your TV or whatever electronics it's controlling, sometimes you'll have one battery go low on you. Okay, what that'll do is it'll lower the overall voltage that's going through there to provide power for your circuitry. So check all the batteries that are hiding under your battery hatch in your remote or whatever it is you've got your battery in. Make sure they're all in satisfactory in the satisfactory range, rather, because if you have say if you had 4 in underneath that hatch in that device, one bad one, it would basically lower the voltage, or it might not even pass the voltage on, and you'd have a handheld unit or control that wouldn't work. So check all the batteries in each unit. Okay, so that one tests good. Okay, now I've got one that's it's the same. Hold on, that was the AAA, the AAA. And I've got two AA's here. These are the next step up here. Now I believe I have a good one and one that's not so good, so I can show you the difference. So we'll slide that in there like so. There, this one shows good. Okay, we're in the green there. We're fine. Okay, so I know that one's good. Okay, now I've got this other one here. And if I remember rightly, it was a little on the low side, so I can show you what this this gadget here will indicate to us. Now I've got it connected there. Oh, there it is, it's moving now. Okay, right there you can see it's in the red, it's very low. Okay, so this is obviously, when it says replace, they're not kidding, they mean replace it, because it's no good for anything at that point. Check for disposal methods. Don't know if many of the landfills like to see batteries in the garbage and stuff, so you'll have to check to see if there's some place that'll take them where they recycle them or whatever. Okay, so then we can move on to the next step up here. We can go into the C battery. Mind you, I'll be getting into this other meter in a minute, but it doesn't show volts on here, but all these round ones here tend to be 1.5 volts. Okay, so now we can get rid of our pencils because it's a bigger diameter battery, so it'll put it in line with the right connection there. Now with this one here, it looks like it's right in the yellow there, just almost into the green. So that's telling me it's low. It's still usable, as long as you're not putting in anything that is you know, important to you. If it's just a remote or something that's in the house or whatever, and it's not a big deal. But if it's something that's important medically or anything to do with safety, always replace it when you get out of the green, okay? So if you have one of these type that reads colors. Okay, then we've got another one. I'll just check it, I'm not sure, I think it's still good too. There's another C battery I just put in there for you. That's in yellow, so I'll remember to use the digital gauge on that to show you just where that is. And finally, for the round ones is let's see, there's the plus sign. Right there's a little plus sign. And you just make the connection. This is out of a flashlight that I have, probably the blue flashlight that you've seen in some of my other videos. This is what this came out of to test for the D size or D cell size battery. There's the little D, it's sideways on you there, but it shows D, and it shows a 1.5 volt under there too. That's when they're new. They should be a little bit over 1.5 volts. If you do measure a brand new battery, they can be 1.6 volts. It means you got a really good one. You can see right there it's in the green, so we know that flashlight is going to be lighting up really good as long as I got 2 of them in there. Okay, and now as for this the rectangular one or the 9 volt, you can't do it in here. It's got special terminals on the end like I'd mentioned. With these needle type gauges, you got to make sure that the polarity of the battery is right here, because what will happen is if I reverse this needle will be pinned downwards. It's not good for the meter. So pay attention to that, especially with analog meters that have a moving needle. So now the plus was the little one. There's the plus on there like I was showing you there. I don't know if the lighting's going to destroy that little marking because of the reflection, but trust me, the little one is the plus. And then we look on our little meter here, right there's a plus. So on that terminal there we have to put the little guy. Actually there are 2 different sizes there, so it makes it easier for you to visually see which way to put it. So we just plug that on the end of there, and I know I have a good one and a bad one. This one's not indicating anything at all. Okay, so I'll try the other one now. Okay, here's another brand, another one to put in there. Oh, we've got a good one. See, the other one was pretty much dead. There was nothing left in it. But you can see here, this one's a little on the low side. It's actually touching in the red. But here's a little trick I found out on this one just today when I was looking this thing over and cleaning it up a bit for the video. I flip on the other side there, and there's all these little one little chart rather. It'll give the battery size, like in this first column here is all the 1.5 volts batteries and their applications for as far as tolerance for usage. And here's the 9 volt one, okay? Now in the 1.5 volt here, it says as long as you're getting 1 volt out of that 1.5 volt battery rather, it says it should be good or low. Now with a 9 volt or that rectangular battery, it says as long as you got 6.5 volts, it's still a little bit good, but a little bit on the low side. Okay, there's the low replace right here. When it drops down to less than 1 volt or 0.9 of a volt on a 1.5 volt battery, that's low replace. And then on this one, you got 5.3 volts, lower replace with a 9 volt battery. Okay, there's different markings on there, and it shows what the load is for the testing in ohms resistance. And it talks about milliamps. That's the actual amperage output of the battery. It's in milliamps, or 1/1000th of an amp. It's a very, very small amperage. Mind you, the voltage is fairly high, but the amperage is very low on these batteries. Won't hurt you at all. Just don't be swallowing these things, not good for the health. Okay, well there's that part of it. Now I'll just slide that out of the way and bring this other guy in here. Okay, it's a multimeter. It's made for automotives, but it'll still measure those voltages that we're talking about here. Now, I think it was, we had the 2C batteries, and what I'm going to do here is, if I recall, there's two different brands here. This was the one that was well into the green, the strong one. This one was weak. So I can show you the different voltages on this particular meter here. Okay, this is a digital meter. It's got different scales for the voltage, and we're just going to be using this ones with the red markings on it. Okay, so we know we're no more than 1.5 volts, but we can set it for the maximum of 2 volts. Okay, now I'll just move back here and grab my test leads. Remember the polarity. I'll show you the good one first. Alright, maybe I can get them all in the frame here. I'll just hold that there like so. Try to get the battery above it so that I can show you what's going on all in one. Just let me get these leads all sorted out here so they don't get all tangled up. Alright, so there's the bumpy end, or the plus, which is red. Minus is usually the flat side of the battery, or your negative. Okay, so we're just going to connect the two of them and see if we get a reading. Now this was the good one, and I had mentioned that you can get up to 1.6 volts for a brand new 1.5 volt battery, and this one is like almost brand new, hardly used, because look, it's almost 1.6, and that's a very good battery, so I know that's a keeper for sure. Now I'll just slide that one out of the way, and we'll bring this other one into the frame and get them oriented. There's the plus sign, and if I can get them to stay still there, get this centered up, make sure you're not missing anything. And we'll go in with the probes, and then we'll probe this one. Well, now that's showing 1.431, so that's under 1.5 volts. For me, if I didn't have the other analog dial type indicator, then I would say anything below 1.5 is starting to make it questionable, but still, it'll still work. But the best thing to do is if you have a couple of good ones, really high ones over the 1.5, you got a low one, like I say, get rid of that low one, park it to the side, and get yourself a strong one to match the other strong ones in there. Now on the back here, like I was mentioning before, on our 1.5 volt battery, as long as you're over 1 volt, then it's still usable. So we had what was a 1.4, whatever it was. Okay, so it'll still work. And just to go over that one again, we can put that one back in the into the analog battery tester here, and just see where we're at. I have to bring in my little helpers here. There we go, and remember to center that up in the video. We'll get it. We're almost there. There we go. So there's in the replace, and that was the 1.4 whatever. So you know it's definitely, according to this thing, it says it should be replaced. Like I say, anytime you drop below 1.5 volts on that battery, you know it's getting used up. Like I say, a newer one would be more in the area of closer to 1.6 if it's new and fresh. And before I say goodbye to you folks, I'll just tell you a little thing that I learned years ago. A friend of mine was telling me about batteries when you buy them brand new. I don't know if they really, on the package that you buy them in, would have the date that they were actually manufactured and released for sale. A lot of times a new battery or a package of batteries could sit in a warehouse or where have you for a number of years perhaps, and they can go stale over a period of time. So if you can find some way to find out just how old those batteries are, try to stick with the ones that are most recently made. That gives you a better chance that they will last longer and probably have a stronger, or rather a higher voltage reading when you first buy them. So there you have it folks, there's the two different ways to check batteries. This one is really quick, it's really handy and fast, and I can't remember how much I paid for this thing, it was so long ago now, but you can see it's kind of cute in a way, and it really does its job. If you get one something like this, I've already had to open it up once. There's a wire that moves along when you slide this little thumb piece here, the red part here. and if you slide it too much the wire breaks off, so I had to get back in there and solder the wire back up so it would connect again. So my trick in parting to tell you is, if you get one with a little slider thing, when you're finished with it, don't slide it in all the way. Keep it open a couple of inches there. That way you're limiting the travel of bending that wire inside the unit. So it'll save you some headaches and having to go in there. So that's what I've done. So when I put this away, it won't get closed up. I'll probably leave it out just like that without the battery in it. So I hope you enjoyed this video, folks. Have yourself a nice day. Take care, and bye for now.